Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of UHS Presents. I'm your host, Sarah, and Lori, my co-host, your co-host too.
Your co-host?
Sure.
Everybody's
Why not?
co-host.
It's
Sure.
the world's co-host. You're America's co-host. Yes. Dee's here and says hats. Yes, hat day. Today is hat day. Mostly because Laurie has many wigs, but I do not. We're gonna work on that, but for now, hats. Because I have a bunch of these.
Yes,
So,
and I felt lazy today, so we thought silly hats would be a good. And these are awesome. These are awesome. Daniel, I'm so happy that you recognize the flying spaghetti monster.
do you want to tell the story of how that hat happened? Because I remember enough of it, but like there was a whole thing on it.
That's true. We're both technically gods, right? Because you could sort of be like a Cthulhu-esque.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cthulhu. Yeah. Very pastel Easter themed Cthulhu. Right?
Yes, I love that. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, the context is basically, so I got out the card. I'm actually a minister of the
Yes!
Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
So am I now too. Not as interesting a story, but like I didn't know I was supposed to bring my card.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, carry on with the story.
Eric thought of it at the last second. Yeah, and I was actually going to, it was pre-COVID, I was going to minister a wedding for some internet friends of ours. We were all going to meet up, and we were going to do that, and we had all these plans about how we were going to do it, and then Sarah decided to have this hat made for me for when I do officiate the wedding.
Lori was telling me all about like what all the flying spaghetti monster entails, and I was like, so do you cosplay? Because you should. And she was like, yeah, you can do the spaghetti monster stuff, you can do the colander, right? Or a bowler hat, or pirate stuff.
Right, pirate stuff. Yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
And so I was like, do you have any of that stuff? And I think you said pirate, but not other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I decided that like that this spaghetti monster hat needed to happen. And I messaged my friend who does crochet, because that's one of the things I can't do. There's a list of stuff I can't do, but the crochet is definitely at the top. I can crochet the shit out of a very long, like, skinny rope. That's what I can do for you. But
yeah, I can do a scarf. Just one line. As long as it's a rectangle, I can do that.
And just like wrap it around a million times. Yeah, that's the best I can do. I can't even do a scarf. I can't even do more than one row. I can do one row. That's it. Anyway, yeah. So I had to contact someone else to do this for me, and she did. And she did it real fast too, and sent it on. I think I might have ended up having her, because it was such a short notice thing, ended up having her send it directly to you or something. Doesn't matter. But
yeah, I don't remember. But yeah, if you guys want a hat like this of your own, how do we contact her? Because I know she takes commissions, and yeah.
Yes, she's kind of selective about her commissions because she doesn't have a ton of time, but her name is Jessica and she's amazing. And I am I'm trying to ask her if she wants me to, like, because I don't want to put her email address out there on here to have bots pick it up. But I mean, you can just message us and we'll put you in touch with her. Yeah. It's not a big deal. But yeah, Jessica is an amazing crochet artist, right? It's crochet artist.
Yeah, crochet. Yeah, sure. Unless there's a technical term for it. Like there's technical terms for people who make clothes and people who make shoes and.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She's a crochet cobbler. I don't know. I don't know what it is. The point, though, is that Jessica is like she can't take every commission. She's like I said, she's selective. She might have to turn you down, but it's never personal. It's just she doesn't have very much time thing, but she will totally crochet you a squid or a spaghetti monster.
She's super skilled. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's too bad I didn't have like maybe someday we'll just have all the shit our crafty friends have sent us, and just do a runway show where we just show everybody all the stuff, because she's got a bunch of hats. I got a bunch of hats of hers, and yeah. Anyway, like, it's really good quality work, so expect to pay a little bit for it. I mean, I doubt she knows how much this actually is worth, because she doesn't do that. She's just like any artist, in which she's terrible at trying to price her stuff. But, like, come on, is $100 too much to ask for this magnificent?
That's insane.
Like,
come on.
Look at this thing. Like, there's more in the back. Like, look at this. And, like, yeah, how many? I don't even know how many pieces of spaghetti are on that thing. But there's so much spaghetti.
And you can do this with it.
Right.
Because I'm a toddler. In any case, art. That's what we're talking about today, right?
Yeah. Before we get into our topic, though, do we have any UHS news to review? Because I know we're kind of in this weird lull period where we just wrapped up the Sundering, which
we're kind of
did amazing.
The Sundering. Thank you guys so much. We're still kind of like holy shit. We closed at 54,500. Thank you guys so much. We're hard at work. We've got a whole bunch of artists working on this. We've got the writers going crazy, the editors going crazy. It's chaos. But we can't wait to finish it and get it to you guys. I'm really excited. It's going to be nuts. There's going to be so much material.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
And then the Surgeon 5 is almost done. We're hoping it's finished this week and sent to the printer. So anyone who backed that is going to get their stuff. And if you haven't ordered it, you can get it finally.
Sweet.
I'm excited. Yeah. And then Super, the remaster of Super, of course, is also in progress. We're just tweaking and rewriting and relettering.
Excellent. Yeah, so that'll all be happening soon, and then sending out the mass sending, the sending.
The sending.
That's what it's called, the sending.
Yes, and Ryan's in the chat.
TMCR.
We've added him as an artist to the Sundering as well. We're gonna have him do a couple of paintings for us, so I'm really excited. And now you can't back out, Ryan. Sorry, you're stuck.
Yeah, now you're publicly committed.
We're committing you to something.
So that's what we're doing. We're doing the thing. It's gonna be awesome, and like stuff coming up too. So much stuff coming up. We'll get to that. We don't wanna blow our wads too soon here, but I didn't mean that to be sexual, but it totally was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This is whatever. This is I don't know.
It happens.
Like, I am all about the unintentional puns and the unintentional innuendo. Like, that's my thing. I don't mean to do it.
Well, like,
people think I'm clever and hilarious. It's like, nah, I just don't think before I talk.
Oh, same. I do it. By accident all the time.
What are you gonna do?
And like we talked about earlier, we don't know if I'm naked right now. I could be.
Yes. I mean, that's the real topic of today's show. Is like, is Lori wearing a shirt? We don't know.
I did not notice until I got on camera, but maybe I am. You'll never.
It's actually kind of chilly here today, so I was like, I could have tried to play the game with you, except that I will freeze to death in the hour that we're supposed to be on here, so I can't. But So anyway, today's episode, we're digital art sucks, right? And quick why did we decide to do this? So Daniel Calvin, yes, thank you.
We'll
Daniel Calvin posted a thing about somebody that he had bumped into online who made the comment that digital art isn't real art. And I didn't even know that it had happened, but then I opened up Facebook, and Facebook was like, hey, your friend Lori Foster commented on this topic. And so I was like, all right, click. And then, then I see what it is. And I'm like, all right. I, of course, immediately, this is why you can go fuck yourself. But
Yeah.
then I was like, after, like, I've let it sink in for, like, 5 minutes maybe. And then I was like, hey, Lori, how about we drop whatever it is we were doing for tonight's episode and we just make it about this instead? And she's like, I'm down. So we asked a couple of our friends who do traditional and digital art to come on and talk about it. And there may be a couple more people popping in here at some point because we asked a fair few people. And because we did it on such short notice, because like it was literally last night. We are not sure. I'm not sure how many people can make it stuff. But for now, we have our good friend Katie Rooston. Hi, Katie.
Hey.
And Katie does hella like traditional paintings with acrylics, and I know you work mostly in acrylics, but like you do oils occasionally too, don't you? Like rarely oil.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but Katie's like girls won awards for this stuff, so like she paints traditional paintings. Okay, so like she does the thing, and then all of our good buddy Mr. Fish is also here. Hi, Fish.
How y'all doing?
Do I even need to tell you all the stuff that Fish does? Because he does all the things, and he does them very quickly.
Yes, I do them very quickly. And I started out in traditional media. I have painted hella portraits and murals and things like that. I used to draw, 5 to 7 pages a day in pencil back in the day. Now I'm working digitally because it's faster for me and it makes money and it's easier with my disabilities.
5 to 7 pages a day
No,
with
it's
a pencil?
Yeah, now I can go even faster digitally, but yeah, I've always been fast.
Holy Christ! All right, I'm never going to be the artist
What's up,
that
J-Man?
I look up to. I'm never going to be that good, and just have
Neither
to accept
am I.
it.
None of us are ever going to be the ones we look up to. Like the dudes that I look up to the most, that like I know personally, that are the best artists I know, are still on the fence. Like, nah, I'm not good enough to make a living. I'm like, dude, you are so freaking good. Nah, I'm just doing it for fun. I'm never going to be good enough to do it for a living. So much better than anybody else I know. My work is crap compared to them, and I'm knocking out books all day long getting paid for it. But if you're not going to actually do it or have the faith to do it, you ain't going to get there.
See,
Yeah, that's
me.
using yourself. You should never. That's the thing. Like we should never use our own judge of our stuff, our finished stuff, as the barometer of like how good we are, because you are
Right.
nobody is ever going to be as harsh on my work as I am on my work. And that's just how it is. Like you are the harshest critic of your own work. So like nobody should ever. You should show it to people. Like your buddy obviously showed you his stuff, and you're telling him "What are you, nuts? You're great at this." But yeah, everybody.
I've been trying to hire both of them for years.
Miss BBC Wildlife Artist of the Year category winner over here still talks about how shit her stuff is, and it's like, really? Because you've literally won national awards for it.
You see, I think there's 2 categories of artists. There's the artists who think they're shit, and then there's the artists who think they're the shit.
Right.
Excellent point.
Those that are absolutely blind to their flaws, and those that can't see anything but their flaws.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Things like being unable to draw feet or hands.
But it also is quite interesting that this sort of attitudes doesn't correlate with like skill level, because I know like some really good artists who are like, oh yeah, I'm not very good, and yet and some really good artists who are like, oh yeah, I'm brilliant. So it doesn't correlate to the skill level.
Exactly. Some people can't draw feet and they're famous.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Cough. Well, like you got like the people who think that they're the best, like Anish Kapoor. Anybody? Yes.
Yeah.
Dude sucks. He is the worst human being I've ever seen in the art community.
And
but
that matters a whole lot more. I would rather work with a great human being that's a sort of crappy artist than an amazing artist that's a crap human being any day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I'm not even sure that I
What's up,
consider him all that great. Like some of his best known works, like The Bean, I don't remember. It's Cloud something, right? It's
It's the bean.
Cloud
'Cause
Gate,
it
but
picks
it's the
him
bean.
off, it's the bean.
It's the bean. In Chicago, if you've been to Chicago, it's the bean. And like, I could have done that. I didn't need. You don't. Anish Kapoor. Like, is he really that good? Can dude draw feet? That's my new test, right? Like, can you draw a foot? Because I can draw a foot. I cannot draw it quickly. It will take me a while, but I can draw a foot. I drew. Remember that 2-page comic I put into Elsewhere? I drew lots of feet in that sumbitch.
That's true.
It took a while, but I did it.
I tell you, that's
Did
the
it.
cure for anything. Do it 1,000 times, and you will
Yeah.
get good at it. I used to hate drawing hands. Now I don't even think twice about it because they're in every panel. So eventually, get used to it.
You
I
can
used
only
to-
hide them behind shit for so long. Right?
Oh man, I used to have so many people with their hands in their pockets. I got so good at that.
Indeed. So
Sorry, what were you saying, Katie? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
yeah.
Oh no, it's okay. It's like I really didn't used to draw a lot of people, and I was like, I suck at drawing humans. I'm like, no, I'm going to practice this. So then I was getting all these like reference packs of like life models and stuff on ArtStation. ArtStation's got some brilliant reference packs that you can just buy like licenses for, and they're so good. And you get like 600 pictures in different angles of stuff. And I just feel like drawing just faces and poses and anatomy studies, and you get better with practice. You get better all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I can see the difference actually, even since we did the Elsewhere, the Seeker for the Elsewhere Volume 2.
Yes.
I know I've got better since then. So
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
like,
man.
it's crazy because the work that you did for the Seeker was fantastic. But like, I can tell that you're better at people now than you were. That was just a couple of years ago, and like it's amazing. But you are better now. You're totally better now. It's
just because I
it's
think
crazy.
they did Damien. So
I
Yeah,
used to
yeah.
think like I was as good as I'm going to get, and this is where it is, so I'm just going to go with it. And then I started doing comics all day, every day as my day job, and my work just jumped exponentially over the last couple of years because like I have always done art as my paying gig since like junior high. So I've drawn every day, but not the amount that I draw now. Like drawing one
Yes.
logo to go on a t-shirt for a day is one thing, but drawing the same character in 5 or 6 panels per page in 6 pages a day, that's a very different thing. And my work has just increased so much. And it's just the sheer practice, the volume of pages.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's actually that's actually a pretty decent segue into the topic at hand here, that digital art isn't real art. And I believe all of us are pretty much like, we're pretty solidly into using tablets and drawing our
Oh
stuff
yeah, I'm very invested.
digitally. Like that's our thing. Like I'm all about the iPad right now, Apple Pencil and Procreate. That's how I do my stuff. If I didn't have that, you can bet your ass I would not be even a quarter of the skill level that I'm at now. I would not be there because of digital. And like Katie, you do, like, your thing is traditional paint. Like, that is, when people think of your stuff, they think of those amazing bird paintings and the deer and stuff. They don't think of digital art, but yet you do it. And
Well,
as
that depends
somebody
how long
who,
you've known me for.
well, that's true. I have known you for longer than a lot of people here, I guess. But
To start
Anyway,
with,
like,
I
as-
started out with digital, and then I went to traditional, and then I went back to digital.
well, you have all of your amazing traditional paintings now, and you're sitting here as a guest on this show here tonight saying digital art is too art. And as somebody who is very heavy into traditional art as well, you're going to be able to provide, and Fish too, with your, you have your experience in it. I think we all do traditional and digital, but we're just very heavily into digital at this point in time. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I
So-
would love to work traditionally. It's just between
Yeah.
my disability and the speed factor, it makes more money to work digitally.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
expensive
Like,
for the materials too.
Katie's the crazy one that's like, she's working on a traditional painting while she's doing a million things for us for our various projects going on, mostly the Sundering, right? Like, we've got Katie doing art for the Sundering. So
I'm learning how to juggle projects at the moment.
so do you want to give us like your like your very number one reason. Why is digital art? Yes, it is to real art. Like, do you want to give us like what is your number one thing that you think about when you hear somebody say that as an argument?
But well, mostly how many damn hours I spend drawing all the tiny details and everything. It's like I've just been sat like the whole evening drawing dragon scales, which is by hand from scratch. I'm not using a brush that does it. I'm doing them like just with the 2-pixel brush going on, because I've got a new tablet today and it is amazing. But yeah,
it's also the downside. You can get lost in the zoom and the details and end
Oh my
up
god, yes.
like I did like 50 Japanese men sitting in the stands behind this kung fu tournament in one panel, and then they've all got different faces that I pulled out of like old photographs from sumo tournaments. So like I made them all individual people. They're all beautiful, and I zoomed out, and the whole 50 guys could fit in my thumbnail. But it looks great if you zoom in. That's it.
I mean, you get people to say that you can't do that with traditional, but you can, because I've seen people do these super tiny drawings that are like this big.
Each little piece of fur in a fog with a magnifying glass.
Yeah, or even like, well, I'm not even sure a magnifying glass would cut it like a microscope, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, so I think that the thing that people are when it seems like it's always people who say that digital art is cheating or it isn't real art or whatever they say that's derogatory about it. When the people who say that, first of all, aren't artists. They're never fucking artists. They're never people who actually do this.
Or
shit.
they're artists that don't
Like
get
Anish
technology.
Kapoor?
Like
They're snobs. Yes.
like
like
I've got a friend of mine that I won't name because I don't want to out him. He's not super bad that digital art's not art, but sometimes he sees how fast I knock out stuff and he's like, dang, that's just not fair, because he's an old school artist and still works traditionally. And if I have to copy, I was working on one project where I had to copy these guns exactly from an action figure. So I just took pictures of the action figure's gun and turned it and got it in the right area and then drew over it in my style just to cut down the speed. I mean, I could plot it out and make it look right and spend an hour doing it, or I could finish the page in an hour and go on to the next one. So I did that, and he has to plot it all out and draw it by hand, and he's like, that sucks. And I don't blame him. I mean, it does a little, but
that's fair. That is a fair argument.
Yeah, the thing is, the old masters used to do stuff like that though too, because they had the camera obscura, which they used to use to project images and then draw around them, because they studied some of these old paintings that are the old masters did that were really realistic, and they realized that the distortion is exactly the distortion of the camera obscura, so that the lines would be bent in the same way that the camera would do. I mean, it's like a projector really rather than a camera, but artists have always used the tools that are available to them.
Yeah, and let's talk about the old masters for a second. Like Botticelli, Da Vinci, like the ones that you learn about in your art history 1 class. They didn't do, if you want to talk about cheaters, they generally did not do most of the work on their fucking paintings. They had a team of people in a studio that worked, they did big details and stuff, and those people, their names are forgotten to history. We don't have a freaking clue how most of them, who they are, and you think Botticelli did all of his own work? Because he didn't. That's the thing that any art historian is going to tell you, that they did not.
And those giant
works.
bronze sculptures and stuff from Da Vinci, he did not sit in a room by himself doing that. He sketches out what he wants, and he's got a team of people working for him, and get it done. But he's not just building these gigantic molds by himself and pouring this molten brass by himself. It's foolishness. He can't do that.
Right.
And
he didn't do that. Michelangelo, do you think he was by himself on his back on a fucking scaffold painting the Sistine Chapel ceiling alone?
Built
for
the
5
scaffolding
years? No.
by scratch, by hand himself, alone
Probably,
in that
absolutely.
church.
Yeah.
He actually did do quite a lot of work by himself.
He is one of the ones that I'll give a little more credit, because he did a lot of it, and you can actually, if you look at the actual individual pieces within it in the whole painting, you can see there was a point at which he just stopped giving a fuck And so it's kind of amazing if you really look at it and really study it. It's pretty cool. But that he, like, even he did not do all his work. Yeah, he did actually. He did quite a bit of the Sistine Chapel himself because he couldn't get away with having his people, his apprentices, do it, because his patrons, the people who commissioned the work, were standing right there watching him every day. So like he had help, but he didn't have as much help as he had for some of his other stuff.
But
he had help.
Way to paint
That's
a
the
mural,
point.
too.
Oh.
Having them watch you while you do it is the worst way, because it looks so crappy about halfway through. And like, you've got to let me finish it before you start picking it apart.
Yes.
Traditional art does go through the ugly stage.
It does.
Really
yeah,
bad.
absolutely.
Right.
Well, digital can as well. Depends how you paint, really. But
Yeah.
I wonder if these great masters from the Renaissance period had that somebody's watching you do your work. So I cannot remember anything that I've ever learned about how to paint in my entire life. It's all gone. How do you do this? Oh my god, I forgot how to breathe. How do you breathe? You know? I wonder if it's just me.
I don't like people standing behind me and watching me paint. It just really puts me off. I don't like people standing behind me anyway, so I'm just like, go away. Just move to the side so I can see you.
Smaller paintings, like we used to do these painting parties locally, and we get together and we do these like 2 foot by 3 foot paintings for charity, and there'd be a bunch of drunk art aficionados around watching us paint and talking, and we'd paint, and then they'd auction them off for whatever the charity was. That was fun. Like, I like doing that in front of people because I can knock that out in, a couple of hours, no problem. But like a big mural, no, there's too many stages along the way to get it to look right. And they always get concerned halfway through.
Yes. It's like, just trust me, I've done this before.
Although
I can't remember ever having painted anything in my entire life because you're watching me.
I've only done one mural, and that was when I was like 16, and it was a dragon.
You can do that shit in university. If anybody's thinking about going into fine art or graphic design or anything, like if you're gonna take an art major when you go to university, they're gonna make you paint a mural on the side of an ice cream parlor or some shit. Really? Well, you're British. I don't know. British schools are weird.
Did it for extra money, and she kept trying to tell me to do it. Like, you'd be really good at this. And I had never really worked in color before because I love black and white comics. Because all the indie comics are black and white, and that's what I wanted to do. And so I actually had to learn how to work in color to do this. And I started out with very cartoony stuff because it was easy. And then, had to teach myself like how to paint in color as I went, and ended up becoming like, a pretty lucrative part of my job for a long time.
Yeah, that's cool. So as far as like back, like steering, we guess we've got to steer back to the topic. I think that this misconception of digital art isn't actually art, or it's cheating or whatever. I think people who say that think like your friends, Fish, your friend's legitimate criticism of being able to use photos as easy way to get your scale right or get your shapes right or whatever.
Absolutely.
Like, yes, we do that. We do that. I totally do that. I often fuck up the proportions on humans. So it's like I will find myself a photo, and I'll like circle the head and like draw out my basic wireframe skeleton, whatever.
But it's called
still
tracing
art.
paper in traditional.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good damn point. We got tracing paper and like those fucking the lights that, like you said, the camera obscura and the various the projectors.
And you get
how many fine art paintings have gone through 100 layers of tracing paper and light boxes and all this stuff to put several different drawings together and then transfer it with like carbon paper or whatever directly onto the canvas. Like, I mean, that's cheating too to a lot of people.
Yeah,
but
it's tracing.
People like to complain about using the new tools that make stuff go faster, but that's like saying only real carpenters use hand tools, and I'm only going to pay for somebody to use hand tools to build my house.
Yeah,
but that house is going
to
to take 10 times longer with a handsaw than it will with a power saw.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. The argument doesn't make sense.
No. It's no different than saying that you're only doing real art if you're using paint made out of charcoal and spit and a sharp stick. Because all of you cheaters with your ground,
and ground up
minerals and your
human
linseed oil
bodies.
and your little fur brushes, you're cheating. It's too easy. It's making things go way too fast. We had to work with black on rock walls when I was a kid, and that's the way it should be. That's
Right.
ridiculous.
And I think that people, like, this is why I think that people who say things like that, like who say digital art isn't real art, are people who have never actually done any art, any real, like, good art, like as a career choice. Because I think that they think that when we do digital art, what we're doing is just going, computer, make me a picture of a woman standing on the beach with her hair flowing and her dress flowing and the water's lapping at her ankles, and it's gotta
getting
be
easier and easier
sunset,
to do that.
and there's seagulls, and it's like, okay, so the reason that this AI art stuff has made such a huge splash and everybody's talking about it is because this is the first time that we've actually been able to do shit like that. Before
But it
this,
still doesn't get it
and
right,
it's still,
though.
yeah, it's like it's still not that great at it, but it does make some really amazing stuff now, which is quite
The
frankly,
people with no
I'm
artistic
I'm
eye
so
and no
conflicted
vision.
about it. I'm so
I'm
Can't
still a
tell the
bit
conflicted.
difference.
traumatized by the one that I saw with it was like these people taking selfies in a crypt, and it started putting like teeth coming out of their faces in like, all these different ways, and it was so uncanny valley. It was horrible.
Oh, yeah,
It's like,
yeah. See,
like
like,
the mouths are too wide, and there's too many teeth, and the teeth
yeah, digital
everywhere.
art is not the same as AI art. It's, yes, they're both technically digital, but like AI art is not created by humans. It's created by algorithms. That's not how we do the art. That's why it is too real art. It's the same thing. It's just like remember the I'm sure you've seen the memes floating around, and if you go do your history stuff, you will find that when paper first started to become a widespread tool in classrooms, teachers complained that it wasn't real, it wasn't really writing because you weren't using the chalkboard with the chalk. I know it's slate. They called it a slate, right? They said you'll forget how to write because you aren't using a slate and a piece of chalk. Like, give me a break, man. It's still writing. Just like using a tablet to draw a picture is still drawing, and it's still art. It's still real.
You still have to have the skill set to be able to do it.
Exactly.
And it does make it easier to cheat. And there are people that do cheat. Like, there are people that will just trace somebody else's drawing and make a couple changes and say it's their own. I just watched a TikTok video the other day about a girl, and it shook me at a fundamental level to realize that this is how she makes her comics. And I can't quite tell if it's madness or brilliance. But, like, she would draw all of these heads out from all these different directions of each of her characters. And then when she needs a head, she just copies and pastes one of those heads on. I mean, that's very fast, but like, she also talked about how long it took her to draw each one of these. But you're never going to get any faster at drawing this character if you don't draw them all the time. So, like, in a way, I feel like she's kind of cheating herself, and she only has these 30 heads to pull from. But, like, I don't know. I mean,
And that's
it's
like
kind of brilliance. It's kind of cheating.
Yeah, and but I mean, in the she originally drew them. Like,
Yeah, I
even
mean,
when
she
we're
drew
tracing
it.
over our own stuff, we're tracing, yes, but it's our own stuff, so we're still
And like, I have no qualms about, say, reusing a character from one panel in another scene. I'll usually change angles in the eyebrows and stuff, but every once in a while, especially if the scene is like staying the same and you need it to be like the same camera angle, I may copy that character and just change the expressions in the mouth a little bit.
Yeah, and that might be like the shameful secrets of the comic book industry. Is like, we do stuff like that not because we want to cheat you out of more art, but because we want you to get your stuff faster and we want to make stuff faster. So we do stuff like that, which is kind of cheating, but it's also not cheating. We're not taking somebody else's
do that
art.
as easily on paper, but you could have done it. Like, you could ink one panel and you could Xerox it, and then you could cut that out and paste it on there. And
Yeah, it's all
like,
stuff you can
people
totally do.
have done that kind of stuff. But
So, yeah. Katie, you have a comment about this, about Brad's comment here?
Yeah. I went to art school and like university, which is like a crazy place. But
I like how you were
talking
like,
about,
ugh, university.
yeah, talking about art as being something more concrete, it's interesting when you look at what is actually considered art by the contemporary art world. Like I'm not joking, we did a lecture on a painting called 1,000 Hours of Staring. It is a blank piece of paper. There is nothing on it. It's in a frame, and the medium is stare on paper. Now, this is considered art. It's basically that the artist has stared at the piece of paper for so long that it's fundamentally changed the piece of paper. Apparently, this is considered art, as is
Performance
that was
art
basically
and
a
stuff.
bunch of bananas that was sat on a windowsill that kept basically. I mean, did you have to keep replacing the bananas? I think they were sold for like 50,000 or something as well. It's like, but
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about while you were saying that. It's like, is it art if you put your gross trash wall? Like, is that? I mean, what's that one? I think it was at MoMA that it was just a pile of candy on the floor and there was significance behind it, but the fact of the matter is the actual piece was just a pile of candy, and they let people take a piece of candy each time they went through, and they would just add more candy at the end of the day. So is that really any more art than digital art? Like, how can you make that?
How many times have somebody bolted a shovel to a wall and it's a piece of art? I mean, they just literally ran to the hardware store. But
I mean,
if that's making the statement they want.
He makes artwork out of leaves, like fallen leaves that he puts around. His stuff is absolutely beautiful. It's like fallen leaves that he puts around trees and stuff. But I mean, they're going to blow away. He takes photos of them, and he does these amazing patterns with like putting water onto dry cracked earth, so it makes the like swirls and patterns. This stuff is absolutely beautiful, but it's not concrete in the slightest. I mean, that's it's not as easy to say like it has to be concrete to be art, if you see what I mean.
The beautiful
because I mean, like Fish pointed out performance art. That's a good example of stuff that's not concrete. It has to be recorded. And photography, if you're saying art has to be concrete, then
that's a
photography
huge one
is
that people would argue about.
Not art, because it's a print. It's a
and you can make as many prints of it as you want, so that's not fair because I could only make one painting, but you can get that painting reproduced in prints and lithographs and stuff. So
and litho printing is still prints. You can still make as many copies as you want. So
exactly.
And in comics too, like if you're doing your art traditionally, you still have to scan it.
Yeah, it still has
it's still going to
digital.
become digital by the end of
I think.
And
I
it's
don't
going
remember
to become
who.
Digital.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Was that Eric that made that comment on Calvin's post? Yeah, it was like eventually it's all digital the second you take a picture of it. Yeah, that's
it's not going into giant process cameras anymore and being shot on film for negatives to expose metal printing plates anymore, unless you're doing big print runs or something. I mean, all of our stuff is going digital, so it's a moot point in the end.
Yeah. It's silly.
And
it's silly to say
I know
that.
what you're saying, Brad. Like I know like people I guess they want to be able to buy that piece of art and keep it on their wall. Like that's kind of how they're looking at it, as a concrete, but like also like all of this other stuff is definitely art.
But would you go to Hamilton and say that's not art because it's an experience that we can only have this one time and it's never going to be the same again? It's
right. If you go listen to an opera,
but it's not concrete.
Yeah, like an opera recorded and an opera live is completely different.
I think my favorite comment that I ever got on one of my digital sketches was amazing what you can do what was it? Amazing what you can do with the right program. Have you ever tried?
I got the screenshot. We can put that bitch up if you want to see it.
I
better blur out the name, so that's not nice.
Yeah, don't put the name on it. But yeah, it was like what was it? It was. I'm sure that's what he said. It was it's amazing what you can do with the right software. Have you ever tried picking up a brush? I'm like, I have literally won awards for my acrylic paintings. Yeah, I can paint.
Yeah, and like working
and I bet
digitally, you can make custom brushes that make things go faster, but most of the time you've got to create those custom brushes yourself, or some other artist had to create
Mhm.
them.
But
And
you do
I
it with
personally
social
prefer
media. You
creating my
can
own
make
because then
your
it
own
looks like
brushes.
mine.
You
Yeah,
make
you
your
can
own
make
tools.
your own brushes. You can make stamps.
Yeah.
You can
And there's
spatter
what was it?
shit.
This stuff called, what was it, Jelly Roll it was called, and I've never used it. I saw someone use it because I completely forgot I had it, and it's like this like square block of like, I don't know what it's made of. It feels like jelly, basically. It's like gelatin sort of stuff. I don't know what it's made out of. But how people was used it would be they'd put like leaves and stuff over the top of it and then paint over it and then take the leaves off and then it would leave the sort of print of it and you just slap it on the paper and all of the ink would transfer onto it. It was like, it was a bit like lino printing but with like a gel pad, and that's like making your own tools as well. Or
Mhm.
I saw one person who made their own, was it a silversmith that actually cast stones to make the hammers with, to actually make the textures on the silversmithing. They were casting textures onto actually metal hammers just to do these different textures. And it's like people have been making their own tools in traditional media as well for like since the dawn of time. If artists can make it easier for themselves, they are going to do it, and they have done that since we started painting.
Absolutely. I used to make my own custom sculpting tools all the time, and I would make
Mhm.
like little stamps for feathers when I was doing an angel, and then I could just and the wing
Mhm.
is covered in feathers, and I didn't have to
Mhm.
spend 2 days with a little tool making all those little veins on the feathers. I mean, it's no different than making a stencil or a rubber stamp or a block
Mhm.
Yeah.
print or anything else that we would do to speed things up.
I mean, some of the earliest painting, earliest artwork, I wouldn't call it painting, but it was they'd put their hands on the wall and then they'd spit pigment at the actual.
That's a stencil because they couldn't draw a hand.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
Exactly. So it's cheating, right? It's not real
Exactly.
art.
Exactly.
Absolutely, they were cheating. Absolutely.
Exactly. But
Katie,
in
do you
like,
remember? Yeah. Oh,
sorry.
finish what you're saying.
I was going to say in comics especially, people want the work quickly and they don't want to pay us enough for it. Like I'm just
Cheap.
going to be upfront about this. Like if I could
It's
ink
not y'all
pages
specifically in the
traditionally,
comments here. It's not y'all specifically. It's just a
Just-
general thing.
just
Mhm.
in general, if
Not
I
talking
wanted
about you.
to ink traditional pages, like detailed traditional pages, I would have to charge easily $100 a page just for inks. And
Mhm.
nobody wants to pay that. They don't want to pay me for that time and that effort. So
Mhm.
the way that I
£10 a sheet.
what was that?
The paper I use is £10 a sheet.
Yeah, like right. The paper I use to ink, I think, is $2 per piece of paper. So that's if I
Yes.
don't fuck anything up. Exactly. So and then and people are like, well, what I have is, I can pay you $35 a page. For $35 a page, I can't ink it on a piece of paper for you. Like I just it's
Mhm.
just not.
I mean, you can't.
I
I
can't.
can't risk smearing the ink, and with my hand.
Right.
That alone is enough
Oh,
that I
God.
can't afford to do it at that rate. I've got to work digitally and be able to undo screw ups to make it pay anything.
All right,
So, yeah.
Eric, I see that you commented. I am not putting that up because it's going to cover the whole fucking screen. But Eric wrote us a little book. We can read it. We'll read it, but not going to put it up because it'll cover everything.
Okay,
Eric
you can
says-
read it.
Eric says, first of all, no, I'm not coming on the show, so fuck you. And second, either everything is art or nothing is art. This weird gatekeeping, where's the line drawn? At what point of technological advancement are we saying anything after this isn't art? It's nonsensical. Comic artists have collectively decided that 1972 is where the line is? Why? They're just being dicks the same way people look down their nose at comics. My medium is better than your medium. And now the bully becomes the bull. The bull? I've never heard him called the bull. The bully become the bullies?
Well, it's
Yeah.
just like anything. Listening to music on a phonograph was cheating, and it wasn't as good as listening to real music being played in
Live,
front
yeah.
of you. And then going from records to tapes, oh, you're losing all the warmth and all the value. And then going to CDs, oh, it's so artificial and it doesn't sound right. And, it's just people are going to complain every time there's a technological advancement. But I would much rather be able to listen to my favorite songs quickly and easily than have to worry about scratching a record or dust getting in it and, making weird popping sounds. and
I mean,
stuff. Like
my
I miss
dad-
listening to records as a kid. I don't miss the sound quality.
My dad does
Right.
hi-fi, and the vinyls do sound a lot better, but I can't be dealing with the hassle of doing it, and I'm really clumsy, so I just scratch them.
Oh man.
Well, and then that brings up another point that these media, these older media, the traditional whatever, so much more expensive to buy, so much more expensive to keep maintained, so much more delicate. I mean, Katie, are you gonna tell me that one of your digital paintings is less durable than one of your acrylics? Because that's, I mean, like, I don't even have to see them to know that's not true.
No, I mean, I constantly live in fear because I paint on paper that I'm just gonna, tear the paper, or I'm gonna drop it and the frame's gonna smash and the glass is gonna cut the paper or something like that.
Dump
Yeah, and
over my
as
brush
someone
water
with
and ruin the whole
pets-
page.
As someone with pets, like I don't want to use an inkwell with cats. Are you kidding me?
Oh God,
Like
it would be like it would be
Little black
a
paw
matter
prints
of
everywhere.
hours
Absolutely, I have
before
been there.
paw prints, and then like half the every time you dip the paintbrush, you are dipping more cat hair into your ink, and then you're getting cat hair stuck to it, so that you end up having like little weird feathers on your lines that you didn't want. Yes, exactly. That's another damn good point, and it's not. At this, like, it's important, I think, that we should reiterate, we're not shitting on traditional art here, not at all. We're just
No.
saying that stop shitting on digital art, because it's every bit as much art. Like what Eric said, it either all is art or none of it's art. You can't pick and choose where there's a line. I mean, it's just different. It's not better or worse, it's just different, and it is, in fact, art.
Like I love working traditionally, and my hand is steady enough now. It wasn't for a long time. I could go back to trying to work, with ink and a brush on a real page again, but the extra amount of time I've got to take, because I can't screw up, I can't make a mistake. I have to get my pencils so much tighter, which takes longer because I don't have that freedom to correct mistakes when I'm inking it. Like that would make my pages cost twice as much. And, until 4 times as many people are buying Green Zone, I can't afford to do that. So, for
Exactly.
right now, it's going to keep being digital.
And Ryan in the comments here several minutes ago said that he said, "Bitch, I do everything the same as if I was doing a traditional painting." But
Exactly.
like, the point stands. Bitch at the beginning of the sentence or no. The point stands. You do everything the same. It's you're not dipping a brush in your paint but like it's the
do
the
work
actions are
differently.
the same.
And I realized it when I did a painting for the variant cover for Green Zone, because I kept thinking, oh, I'm just going to put a multiply layer over this in a second and add the shadows. And I was like, whoa, no, I have to go back to my old way of thinking and, layer the colors and stuff. But I keep thinking in my new digital way of working that, oh, I'm just going to put a screen layer over this. And I can't do that when I'm working in acrylics. And so
That's not how I work in digital. Actually, I just work almost exactly the same as I do in traditional. I just do all the colors the same. I do. I'm starting to use layers a bit more now because I have to with the comic stuff. But I'm still just like doing everything on one layer half the time. But it is quite nice having like the foreground and background and stuff. Now I'll still draw on the wrong layer all the time. But
oh yeah.
Same. Yeah, that's like that's like a rite of passage for digital art, isn't it?
I
Fucking
tell
up
you,
your
so
whole
much
thing.
better than labeling the layers for me is, I don't know if you can do it in Photoshop, but in Clip Studio, you can color code the layers. And
Yeah.
so like all my ink layers are black, all my pencil layers are blue, and all my like perspective grids are green. Like I've got color codes for everything. So when I go to click on a layer, it's much easier for me to tell with the color. I might be on the wrong ink layer, but at least I'm on an ink layer because it's black.
what do you mean you've named the layers? What level of thinking is this? I don't do it. I just kind of
Well,
think
that's a
it's
way to
good.
go. I mean, I've done that too. And then you're like going layer by layer by layer, trying to figure out where that dot is. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
done.
Hiding
like-
it and showing it.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah, that's exactly why I ended that plus an Illustrator, plus I had to start passing my files around all the time when I worked at a company that dye subs clothes, and there could be any number of people's digital fingerprints on this thing at whatever point in its existence, and so I picked up the habit of naming my layers on that, and
I
I
find
do
it
that
quite
now.
interesting seeing the layers that other people use when I'm being given stuff to color, because I'm doing a bit of coloring now, and it's like these people are way more organized than me.
It's because we had to be. There was a
yeah.
reason that we had to be at some point, and probably in your case, the artist that drew it was like, I'm gonna have to give this to someone else to color, so I better not make it a piece of chaos. So
Oh, I
I
can-
resave my files as pencils, then inks, and then colors, because I'll
That
change
too.
it. Like, I will combine all my pencils when I start inking into one layer, but I might need to go back and get part of that later as a reference. And then I'll do the same thing. My inks will be in layers, and I'll save that because I might need to go back and get that building that's behind somebody and use it as a reference later. But then that all gets flattened and combined when I go to my color layer. But I like to be able to go back and get those pieces separately. So I have lots
Exactly.
of copies of the same files.
Exactly.
Right. I was gonna add to what Katie's saying. I think we can sort of talk about it. Katie's filling in as a colorist for Miss Medusa a little bit here on some pages to help us get the pages done. And that book in particular is super finicky because we have two different artists. We have an artist doing foregrounds and characters, and an artist doing backgrounds, and then an artist doing other stuff. And so it has to be meticulous, or like it's just going to be just the worst
one layer
nightmare.
for shading and one layer for lighting, and one of these days I'm going to get the wrong layer, and then I'm going to start swearing. But
I think Katie sort of touched on it. The digital stuff is clean, like physically tidier than traditional art. Either that or I just hallucinated you saying that. But like
Probably
that, like, well, to piggyback off of that, like the traditional stuff is more expensive too. Like if I had to rely 100% on digital or on traditional media in order to create my art, I wouldn't get to make as much of it. Like, never mind, would I do it? That's a whole different question.
Yeah.
Could I do it? Would I be able to do as much as I do? The answer is no, because I
I
wouldn't
would
be able
burn
to
out
afford
my
it.
local supply of like comic book pages quickly. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
they've got a nice little stack at the art store, but I would burn through those so quick. And like, I run into that with just about everything else I do. Like, I love digital because I don't run out of material.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like
and it's
that's
not
if you get the
expensive.
good paint, like you can get the crappy craft paint, or like if you want to go oils, you can get the, they're not even like the cheap oils. They're not even that cheap, but like you can get those. But there's I feel like sometimes some of the crafts that I've picked up, tried to learn, I have screwed myself by buying inferior quality stuff, and like
It really makes a difference.
it really does. Like
Oh, man.
you gotta buy the good stuff. I mean the best stuff you can afford, because like obviously we all have our different financial statuses, and you can't afford. Sometimes you can't afford the very best that you can get. You can't afford the Mercedes. You gotta get the Toyota.
I don't have it here, but like I painted
I
a
must
bunch of
admit, when I was
interior
younger, I
murals
used
with
to-
the
I-
little craft paints.
And it's so expensive. The testers, like the Warhammer shit. Oh my god. It
don't
is
get me
amazing
started on
paint to
Warhammer
work
stuff.
with, but
They've done
holy
something to
shit.
their paints. Their
Like-
paint dry up after about a year now. I've still got some stuff from like the 80s, which is still fine, but the new stuff, they've done something to it. They just want more money from
Yes.
buying paints all the time.
And
Yeah,
well, that's like, and those testers, it's literally like a half an ounce of paint. The testers paint, it's really good paint, but it's a half an ounce of paint, and you are going to go, and it does cover a little better, so it's going to last longer than you think it is, but it's not going to last that long, and you're going to have to buy more eventually. And I would buy only testers all the time if I could. That stuff's amazing for painting models and little stuff, but you can't. It's like those little half ounce containers are double-digit prices. Like, you're paying more than $10 for them every time.
Towards the
I-
end of my mural painting, I switched to using, gallons of exterior house paint in the best quality that I could get, because on one job I was getting paid more. And so I went ahead and bought the $60 a gallon Sherwin-Williams stuff. And the difference was freaking amazing. And so I just started getting gallons of like bright primary colors and a brown and a black, and mixing everything from there. And it covers so much better. I'm getting my yellow to cover in one coat and not having to go back 3 or 4 times to get the right tone of yellow because I was using cheaper paints. And it was more expensive, but man, the quality was so much better.
See, when I was younger, I used to absolutely dread if people who didn't really know what I used would buy me art materials, because they'd invariably get like the cheap colored
You're
pencils.
an artist. Here.
Very cheap.
Yeah,
Yes.
like the cheapest things that you don't barely have any pigment. It's just like old binder and it scratches, and then it's like the sets of multi things, which is like acrylics and the ones they get for kids, and it's like a few colored pencils and oil pastels. And stuff. Like
I've gotten so many packs of
man.
the freaking charcoal pencils that
Yeah.
I never ever used for anything.
And you're just like, I appreciate your very good intentions, your very pure intentions, but next time just give me cash. I'll buy
This is the
stuff
first
that I
time
want.
that I've ever used a kneaded eraser in my life, and I'm only using it because I had one left over from one of those packs that I got somewhere along the way that I never used when I ran out of erasers.
Oh,
But-
I do
Wow,
quite like the
yeah.
needed ones. Yeah, I have
Hey,
quite a bit of use for them, but
I'm the white vinyl all day long. I love those big white erasers.
Do you ever, what are those, are they called moo erasers or the cow? I can't remember the name of them, but that's so good. Oh,
yeah.
moo,
I like
something
the
moo.
pure rubber ones. They were really nice because so I don't like the plasticky ones. They if you're using some of the pencils, it smudges a bit too much. But it's quite it's weird how like specific erasers can be. Like, but
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and like
See,
if
y'all
I
were-
was using soft pencils, it wouldn't work. But with the really hard leads that I like, those white ones are great. And I just
Right.
it's
We strayed off topic again here, but this is just proof that we do all, in fact, know what we're talking about with the traditional art. We are just choosing
That's
to do
one of the
digital for
things.
specific things.
like I wouldn't do this if there weren't a lot of reasons to make the switch over to digital, because like I invested years just in my erasing technique to be able to erase all the lines on a page and not rip it up or tear it or bend it so that it wouldn't be able to scan right or photograph right.
Mhm.
Like that's a skill set that I worked really hard at and I was really proud at, and I was fast and clean, that I never get to use now. Like I wouldn't throw that skill set away if it wasn't digital, was a really good tool. Just like the power saw that I have in the closet behind me is a really good tool when I need it for those jobs. And I can use a handsaw, but I'm not going to, because that power saw is going to do a lot better job a lot quicker.
Mhm.
When
I
it
was going
comes
to add,
down to
I
fundamentals of like you've got to have the fundamentals of lighting and shading and being able to draw like anatomy and stuff. You have to know how to do that regardless of if you're doing digital or traditional, because it's not going to do it for you. You know it's the artist's eye that makes the difference. It's
Mhm.
when you see the
Exactly.
stuff that the actual like Mid Journey and stuff does, it can't get stuff right. It doesn't. I mean, some of the stuff it makes is quite pretty, but it's still kind of weird and messed up.
It's
in places.
So many of the details are so weird and fuzzy and blurry, and
Yeah, too many
Lori.
fingers.
Lori, you had something that you were starting to say. They had a point.
Yeah. I was just going to add, like, because we have the digital versus traditional snobs, but like the thing is that even within traditional, there are snobs. Like as an inker, I've seen people who think people who use pens, like just microns or Pigmas or any kind of pens, right, are
cheating.
That's not real inking. Real
No.
inking has to be with a fountain pen with a nib
A
and a
brush
bottle
pen
of ink.
is cheating.
Or
It needs to be a
brush pen
sable
is also
pen, a
cheating.
sable brush in a bottle of ink that's all crusty on top.
So
Or
like
the,
no matter what, this is why I personally, and it sucks, I left most inker groups because I would post things and traditional or digital, I'm doing it the wrong fucking way for someone, and like just
Yeah, and people can't just like if you don't like it, just fucking sit back and shut the fuck up. Have a
Go
Coke and a
away.
smile and shut the fuck up. Don't come in here to tell us that you're better than we are because you use a bamboo kabuki brush that you sourced in China and then you went and harvested the yak hairs from the yaks in Mongolia. Like, fuck you, okay? You sound like an asshole and you're not even right. So just stop.
I've got a Japanese brush pen I love, and it's almost out of ink, and I cannot seem to order the right one because I don't speak Japanese. I cannot find the right version of this pen. I've ordered like 4, and they're all like different pens, and they're not the same.
We gotta know
You have to
somebody
show
who
me
can help you
because
out.
my favorite
Yeah.
favorite brush pen is a Japanese one that has no English on it.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
So we
the
might
same.
have
we-
to talk about it.
one of us collectively has to know somebody that can help us with this, right? Like,
I've got other
if you're in
ones
the
that look
comments
the same,
and you
but
know
they
somebody
don't
that
work
can
the
help
same.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There is a hierarchy of materials as well, in that people seem to like put a value to. Oils are at the top,
Mhm.
then it's acrylics, then it's watercolors, and right at the bottom is pencils. And
Okay.
pastels are kind of around watercolor level,
Uh,
but it's
so
always
Katie-
like, it's the value. That's the stuff that that
So
seems to
if
be the
you-
value people put on them.
If you sketch
Yeah.
out your design on your paper or your canvas before you start with the paint, does that mean that you're just absolute shit because the base of your painting is actually you're done? You lose your artist card? Do you like what? Because I see like every wildlife artist that I follow on social media loves to sketch out their block out their shapes and stuff with a pencil before they start hitting it with the paint.
Not all of them do, but most of them do. I certainly do, and I don't think it's cheating.
And why the
It's
hell
still
not?
it's still my abilities that's letting me draw this thing out. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's just like that's how stupid the argument is. Is like, is it still cheating if you sketch out your idea before you paint it? Like that is a dumb
Oh yeah, most
argument.
of the best paintings have been drawn 100 times to get it right, and then transferred over and then painted.
and then even painted over it once they've been like drawn like that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like it's crazy. Like I don't have the patience for that, so I just grabbed a paintbrush and drew on the thing and got it down and painted it because for me it's got to be fast because I don't have a very long attention span.
I don't
That
have any
too,
patience.
that
I'm
too.
just really stubborn.
Right.
So in the end, I'm looking at the time going, okay, we've been talking about this for a while now, and we should probably wrap it up, but we could all talk about this for so much longer. So much longer. And I have at least a couple other people that are like pissed off that they couldn't make it to the show tonight to tell, because they could go on and on about it. And I feel like we should just have a part 2 on this thing or something, because it's just important that we as artists tell you that if you think that, you're wrong. And I don't want you to feel like you're a jerk for being wrong on this. Like, we're not trying to embarrass you or anything. It's just, we hear it a lot and we're tired of it. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating.
Even on that thread yesterday, someone said digital artists are lazy.
Lazy, yeah. And it's like, but why? You have no information to back that up.
Dude, I
even
work
your
16
personal-
hours most days. That's not lazy.
Mhm.
All 4 of
I
us
spent-
do. It's
I
you
spent
guys
the
all
entire
know.
evening drawing tiny little scales on a dragon. That's not lazy.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not. We're like. I know. Like I said before. It's not. We're not just typing in. A beach. We want a beach scene with a woman and her dog. Like, no, we're not doing that. That's not. We still have to draw it. Just because we're using a computer, it's still literally a pencil. Like, we're holding a pencil and we're putting it to a surface and drawing it.
If you don't
It's
have the
just-
skill set, you're still not going to be able to make it look right, no matter how good the tools are.
Exactly.
I mean, like, I could hand any of y'all all of my power tools and my air nailers and my compressor and ask you to build me a house, but could you do it without the skill set to know how to do it and where to put things and where to make those cuts and how to hook the nail gun to the air compressor? And I mean,
Yeah.
like, those are
That's gotta
skills
be
that
a
I've built
funky
up
looking
over a
house.
long time, you know?
Exactly.
That
So
house is not going to stay standing. I'm not confident if I tried to do that. That it
yeah,
would
you
be-
can't just look at the pile of tools and supplies and go, house, and then a house appears.
Oh,
Which
it's
is what-
easy. The power
which
tools
is what
do it
people
for
think
you.
that
You
we're
just
doing,
pull
yeah.
a trigger and it's done.
So
Like, it is not that easy.
I think that we should totally have another episode where we talk about why the various things that we've heard about this and why they're so inaccurate, because if you know somebody who feels that digital art is not art, I am like in the, everybody who's watching, I want you to reach out to them and ask them why they think that, because we want to debunk all these myths, because it's not.
I mean,
true.
Why do they think we're lazy?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking they think of we're like a Disney princess, like singing a song and everything
Just
starts moving.
Bippity boppity boo, and it all
Yeah, we
comes
make
out.
the woodland animals come out.
It does not help, I don't think, to have like the TikTok trends where it's like, oh, digital art isn't real art, and you just use this brush and it colors everything in, because like we know they're being facetious and we know that it's ridiculous, but there's a whole lot of other people out there that don't know.
Yeah, and fun story,
some people, I've had a lot of people be like, there's videos all over the place proving it's not real art. You can watch them paint it in real time. And like, dude, they're erasing a white layer. They're not painting.
And they're editing the fucking video too. Like, you're not seeing them do the whole damn thing because it's a TikTok video. You can't do that in that space of time. You can't.
But they don't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There. Yeah. Exactly. You're not doing it right because that's not the way the masters do it.
You didn't do it my way. You didn't pay your dues. You didn't whatever the stupid argument is.
But yeah, I think that we okay. So like I said, if you know somebody in the comments, like if Katie, Fish, like if you guys know anybody who feels this way, I want to know why, and we will do another episode on that if we get enough people to do an hour's worth of material. Like, we could do an hour's worth of material just bitching, I know. But I think, in the meantime, though, I think that J-Man here, especially when we talk about the specific niche of comics, J-Man really put it best when he said, digital art haters, shut your mouth. You want your books quicker, so quit hating.
That's what I'm saying. If you don't want to pay $25 for a floppy, then, let's not complain so much about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Those two.
So, I think Laguna
says hello.
So, so we are, we're out of time now, so we gotta wrap this stuff up, and it sucks because, like, I am interested in the conversation and I want to know why, but I also want to know I do genuinely want to hear from people who feel this way, that digital art is not art. I want to hear from you. Comment on, if you don't want it to be a public comment, you can message us on our Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and tell us directly. We want to hear your comments, and we want to have a conversation with you and either explain what your misconception is, explain what it is, and help you fix it, or if you have. I feel like, okay, I know I'm speaking from I'm being kind of a snot here, but it's unlikely that you're going to have a reason that we will find has merit, because it's probably a misconception on your end, because we're the professionals. We've been doing this a while and we know, and that's all it is. So I know it sounds pretentious, I know, but come on. It's the same. Are you gonna ask your Facebook friend for medical advice? Or are you gonna ask a doctor? It's the same idea.
I mean, there are a lot of tools that make things a lot easier, and Undo is a wonderful tool, and I absolutely love it, and I use it to death. But whiteout is the same thing, and you go look at a bunch of Jack Kirby pages, and there's white paint all over places, or chunks of paper cut out and taped over and redrawn on, because even he made mistakes, and
you don't even want to see the industrial sized jars of whiteout they have at those they used to carry at those studios, for reals.
Oh yeah.
So, okay, so thank you, Katie, and thank you, Fish, for coming on and talking about this with us. I want to do a part 2 at some point if we get the people telling us what they think. I really do, and I don't want to shame anybody. I don't want to make you feel like a dick. That's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to explain to you why we think that you're wrong, and we want to know why you think that it isn't art, so that we want to have a discourse. We don't want to shame anybody.
If somebody would love to come on and discuss the other side of the topic, I would love to have a friendly argument with you about it. Because I can disagree with you and still love you and still be friends with you. But, I would love to have a discussion about it, and,
Yeah, it's like even if you don't want to, you don't have to come on the show. That's not, yeah, like Fish is inviting you, and
If
you're
you want
welcome
to,
come on. But
I'll
like,
be happy
that's,
to.
yeah, like that. We're not asking that much, even just like send us a message. So,
Either
but
way, yeah.
yeah, anywhere from a message all the way up to appearing as a guest on the show. Those are a very broad range of options. But like, we want to know why you think what you think, and we want to be able to have a conversation that goes both ways here, and maybe like obviously we want to change your mind on that, but you know, we have to hear what your mind is first. So totally, please do that. We're not gonna call you any names. We're not gonna try and shame you or belittle. We're not gonna do that. We just want to know why and have that respectful two-way conversation. So, you know, at Unlikely Hero Studios on Facebook, at UH Studios Official on Instagram. I don't remember what our Twitter is. Lori, what's our Twitter?
UH Studios, both Facebook and Twitter.
Okay. All right, it was Unlikely. Yeah, never mind. So yeah, like message us on there and have a chat with us about that, because we definitely want to know, and we will schedule another about this topic, and hopefully get more people with more artists with a even broader range of like their skill sets, even broader, like doing 3D crafts and stuff, like all the stuff that any one of us don't do. Crochet, for example.
Yes.
Which, by the
Oh,
way,
I used to crochet a pot holder back in the day.
right? I could like I may remember kicking ass at granny squares, but I don't remember how to do it, and I can't do it anymore. It's very disappointing.
I can still sew.
One of my biggest shames. But anyway, yeah. If you like the hat, you want your own hat, reach out to us as well, and we will put you in touch with Jessica, who made these beautiful hats.
Does she do the Viking hats with beards? That's what I want to know.
Absolutely, she does them. Yes,
yeah, she would totally do one.
Get you that, like, and you know, and you've met Jessica. We were all My Little Pony weirdos together, so she would totally crochet something for you. I don't know if she's gonna be crazy about the shipping costs. Like you and her both are gonna be freaking out about that if that, you know, when it gets to that point. But like, she'll do it for you. That's the point. So anyway, yes, once again, thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you Katie and Fish for having this conversation with us. And I don't remember what we're doing next week because I didn't look at the schedule again. This is like the second week in a row that I didn't check the schedule beforehand. Does it really
Something
even
exciting.
matter? Like, yeah, we're always gonna do something interesting. I mean, is it good interesting? TBD.
Always.
But in the meantime, I, like all of us, we hope that you have a wonderful evening and a wonderful rest of your week, and that you will join us next week at the same time. And brain just went. Anyway, yeah, come watch next week, and whatever it is that we're doing, it'll be great. So yeah, have a good night, and see ya.
Bye.
And Laguna says bye.
Bye. He's so
Bye.
weird.